The NFL season is well underway, and with it, there's much speculation about who is going to take home what awards and what accolades. We here at thiccmaninc are here to give you the breakdown on who will win MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and of course, most importantly, Rookie of the Year, because as we all know, the future needs to be bright. But starting things off, the NFL MVP race is heating up. As of now, there are four clear frontrunners: Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Derrick Henry. And while it pains me to say it, I feel like we can eliminate Lamar Jackson and Henry right off the bat. Win-loss record plays an important role in the MVP race, and I just don't see the Ravens staying as hot as they've started. They're not going to beat teams like the Rams or Packers, and they're probably going to drop one or at least, maybe two games in the tough AFC North, so they're finished around 12-5. I just don't see a 12-5 record getting a quarterback the MVP. As for Derrick Henry, he's the best running back we've ever seen, at least for the Tennessee Titans. Shots fired at a certain speedy gentleman in the past, but he's putting up numbers comparable to Adrian Peterson. He's looked simply dominant, but he has a much better supporting cast around him than Adrian Peterson. The argument can be made. He's got decent help in the passing game, and it's a quarterback's league in the year 2021. Derrick Henry will just not win MVP. The NFL doesn't want that to happen. So we are left with Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. And now the easy answer to this is Kyler Murray. He's got the better numbers, the better record. He's leading an undefeated team right now, and he's very exciting. But there's one clear reason why he's not going to win. See, Kyler Murray is short. He, like Tristan, cannot ride a lot of roller coasters around the country. The NFL has a clear anti-short agenda. Hence why Drew Brees, a top 10 quarterback of all time, never won the MVP. No. The NFL is going to give the MVP award to a large, strapping man. A man like the great Josh Allen. The Bills are only going to face one good team for the remainder of the schedule in the Buccaneers. Josh Allen numbers continue to get better and better and better as he learns a new offense. So I can see them finishing in the 13-15 win range. And with the numbers he'll have, paired with his nice, large height, it's a clear-cut victory for Josh Allen. Get your bets in now while the Allen stock is at its lowest. So you'll be rolling in the dinero come January.
You know, you really gotta bend the logic around there if the reason your MVP favorite is going to win the MVP is because he's tall. And I want to just start things off, this conversation off from my point of view by saying I think there's multiple people that can win it. All the four that you named are on the conversation. That being said, it will really just come down to whoever has the best last 4 to 5 games. For example, last year, I am of the opinion that if Russell Wilson's last 5 games were flipped with his first 5 games, I think he would have gotten more MVP votes and he would have been in that MVP conversation. So as soon as a player starts to not produce this year, whether it be Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, I think they're going to be tossed out of that conversation, and whoever finishes hot is going to enter that conversation. I mean, with Carson Wentz, that year he tore his ACL, majority of the year played really good, played like an MVP, but he got hurt at the end of the season, was instantly tossed out of the conversation. Right now, the people that are in the MVP conversation for me come down to Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry, with Josh Allen looking in from the outside. I think the first 3 I named, if you take them off their teams, those teams have no chance at making the playoffs. If I had an MVP vote, it would go towards Derrick Henry. He is on pace to break the single season rushing record. He's on pace to break the single season rushing touchdowns record, and he's on pace to have the 4th most all-purpose yards in a single season all time in NFL history. The Titans had no business beating the Bills, yet they were able to find a way to win because Derrick Henry is the most dominant running back in the NFL. He's the most dominant running back in the NFL since Adrian Peterson. He's going to put up better numbers than when Adrian Peterson won the award. He's going to break all the records. So if he's unable to win the MVP this year, I don't think there's ever going to be a non-QB to win the MVP again. It's going to take record-breaking performances like Derrick Henry's putting up, and I think he is very deserving of the award. Last night when he beat the Bills, they shouldn't have beat the Bills, but Derrick Henry exists. He has that 76-yard touchdown run. He gets better as the game goes on, and if you watch Ryan Tannehill play, I genuinely think he wouldn't be that good of a quarterback without Derrick Henry on the field. When he's not able to utilize the play action game later in the game, he's not able to stretch the field. He waits too long in the pocket, and it went like we saw when they played the Cardinals and they got blown out by the Cardinals. They weren't able to pass the ball because Derrick Henry never got going. I think he most closely identifies with the phrase most valuable player because he's the most important player on his team. He leads the Titans to victories, and I think he's more valuable than any player in the league, truly.
Well, the issue with Derrick Henry, he's getting a large volume of carries, which shouldn't be a disqualifier, but you look at someone like him, you look at someone like Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson averaged 6 yards a carry. Derrick Henry has yet to crack 5, even with all his long runs. He is putting up the numbers he is because he's a great running back, first and foremost, but also because of the volume he's getting fed. Like, at a certain point, that has to play a factor. But you're right, they're not going to give it to a non-quarterback unless Derrick Henry continues this. And frankly, he's probably not going to continue. He's not going to shatter all the records in one season. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and if, like I said, that's who I think is the most valuable player in the NFL to his team, and I think the player who is going to get it is Kyler Murray. I think he's going to wind up winning the MVP. They're undefeated so far, and if they wind up with 14 wins or more, I think they're just going to hand it to him. I think voters are going to jump at that opportunity. He has brought the Cardinals to a place they haven't been since Kurt Warner was the quarterback for that team and they went to the Super Bowl. I mean, he's completing almost 74% of his passes. He's on pace to throw for almost 5,000 yards, almost 40 touchdowns, while also rushing for another 9 touchdowns and 350 yards. Those are absurd numbers. The Cardinals are a really good team, and I think it's going to wind up going to him. I think Lamar right now is also most closely in that conversation. I think, like Derrick Henry, he embodies the phrase most valuable player more than any other player in the NFL. If you take him off the Ravens field, I don't think they're even close to a playoff team. He does so much for that team from the running game, the way the running game then opens up their passing game. He's in a tougher division than, let's say, the Bills.
Also a tougher division than the Titans by a good margin.
But he's shown the ability to come back this year, which a lot of haters have held against him. Come back, win against the Chiefs. Come back, win against the Colts. They destroyed the Chargers. So I think he's going to be in that conversation. But then again, if him and Kyler continue on a similar pace, I don't think they're going to give a second MVP to Lamar, and they're going to jump at the opportunity to give it to Kyler.
Yeah, it's going to come down to a quarterback. I'd say Allen, if you look at the numbers going up and up and up, those week 2 and week 3 wins weren't amazing statistically. Now he's really starting to roll. I think if that continues, even if that levels out to what he did against the Titans, you've got to put him in the conversation. I mean, you don't have to do that. You're kind of a hater and a little bit sensitive because of the Bills fans. We don't need to get into that right now. It's going to be a quarterback. It's going to be one of those three, and Kyler Murray is a short fellow, so it's going to be Josh Allen.
If you compare Josh Allen on the Bills to the other, now it's also a symptom of who the backup is and the nature of their systems. But if you take Josh Allen off the field, the Bills still feel like a team that's going to compete for their division and possibly win their division.
You do that with Kyler, you get the same result. They got elite wide receivers everywhere. Their O-line's much improved. They've got a solid defense. Lamar's the only guy who can really say...
Name me who the Cardinals' backup is, because I can't.
Name me who the fucking Bills' backup is. I know you can do it because it's Mitch Trubisky, but like, are you really going to say Mitchell Trubisky is going to guide the Bills to the promised land? That's the MVP you're talking about. There's a reason he was unemployed.
you talked about how easy the Bills' schedule is. The Bills have a very good roster.
Yeah, that schedule gets a lot tougher if you take out Josh Allen and throw in Mitch Trubisky.
Well, I mean, Trubisky looked really good in the preseason. And
preseason
with the way
football doesn't matter.
He was a decent quarterback. He wasn't the worst quarterback we've ever seen. He's just not what you would have hoped a first round or second overall pick to be. And we've also seen that quarterbacks aren't exactly in the best situation under Matt Nagy. So I like the Bills would still be a playoff team this year. I think if Mitch Trubisky's a starting quarterback, just because of how good the roster is and just because of how terrible the Dolphins been, which wasn't expected. The Patriots aren't exactly where we expected them to be.
There's
the Jets,
a difference between winning
probably the worst team in the NFL,
getting into the wild card and being the 1 or the 2 seed. You take Kyler Murray out, you give Colt McCoy the reins to a DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green-led offense. That offense is still going to put up points.
I think with Mitch Trubisky, I genuinely think they still win like 10 to 12 games.
You've drank in the Mitch Trubisky Kool-Aid. You are no better than a standard UNC football fan. He just needs a better situation.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I am merely saying.
No, I think you're saying you want Mitch Trubisky to take over for Josh Allen, and you think he's got a real shot MVP if he takes over soon. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, is that what I'm saying?
I think that's what you're saying, and I just can't stand out this conversation with you anymore. So Josh Allen's going to win the MVP, and we are now going to seamlessly, I say, transition to Defensive Player of the Year, because that is the award.
The Bills play 2 teams with a winning record on the rest of their schedule. Let's just that's
you beat who's in front of you, Tristan. You beat who's in front of you. Josh Allen didn't write that schedule for him.
They'd still be a playoff team.
But Trevon Diggs is doing something very spectacular down in Dallas. He is an amazing quarterback. He gives up a lot of yards, but in a lot of ways he reminds me of a 3 true outcomes hitter in baseball. He's either going to hit a home run, strike out, or get walked. He's either going to intercept the ball or he's going to give up a catch which might cost you 10 or 30 yards. It's very hit and go. That guy. He is a true ball hawk. He will get you interceptions. I think the numbers are going to continue. You look at his style of play. He allows quarterbacks to throw the receiver. He's not a Darrell Reeves. He's not an Xavier Rhodes. He's not someone like that who just completely erases receivers. The receivers still have every opportunity to succeed when being covered by Trevon Diggs. It's just the ever-present chance Diggs is going to hop a route and take the ball away from someone. I think those interception numbers he's going to put up are going to continue throughout the season. I also think that the NFL award voters are fairly sick of giving it to defensive tackles and ends, and Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald are the two favorites right now. They both already have won awards recently, so I don't know. I just can't see them giving it to another defensive lineman. I feel like
Aaron
Trevon
Donald's
Diggs,
not a favorite.
Aaron Donald's certainly in the conversation. Like, he's in the top 3 or 4.
He's probably 4 right now.
But he's always in the conversation. But I feel like they're going to give it to a cornerback, particularly if he gets close to the interception record and the Dallas Cowboys continue to win. It helps that he's in a big market. If he was doing this on, say, the Lions, it wouldn't matter. But because he's on the Cowboys, he's going to get a few more votes off that.
I think the Defensive Player of the Year award is going to come down to Trevon Diggs and whether or not he breaks the interception record. If he continues to intercept the pass every single game, he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year because he broke a record that has stood since 1952, and he's currently on pace to have 19 interceptions. It's going to be the same interception per game rate that Dick Lane had when he set the record of 14 in 1952 when they only played 12 games. If he breaks a record, I think you just hand him Defensive Player of the Year because it's a record that I think pretty much no one expected to be broken over the next however many years. And the last time someone even got close to that record was 1980. If he doesn't break the record, I'm just going to assume it's going to get handed to TJ Watt because he is on pace for almost 20 sacks. He's all over the field for the Steelers. And even if he has slightly worse numbers than Myles Garrett, who has 8 sacks compared to I think TJ Watt's like 7, I feel like TJ Watt is going to get that nod because it was such a close conversation last year between him and Aaron Donald. And I think they might, maybe they'll feel a little bit bad for him and that will possibly influence voters' decisions this year. So I think it goes to Trevon Diggs if he breaks the record, and if he doesn't, I think TJ Watt's going to wind up winning it.
TJ Watt is not going to finish the year healthy. Myles Garrett's got a better shot of doing that. He's a much more freaky and physically gifted player than Watt. He's going to put up better numbers than Watt. The only issue that he has is his brother's not campaigning for him to win an award on Twitter. That's the difference between TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. He's clearly a better player. If it comes down to those two, even if Trevon Diggs gets close, he's probably going to win the award. Tristan's just saying if he gets 17 or something, he's out of the race, or whatever the interception. If he gets too short, he'd be out of the race. If he gets close to it,
17 breaks the record by 3.
What was it, 14? If he gets 13, you're saying he wouldn't get it. If he gets 13 interceptions, he's going to get the award.
I mean, he might still, he probably, because like I said, the next closest is 13 in 1980, so I could definitely.
But I'll throw a little wrench in your system. Nick Bosa is going to have a destructive second half of the year. That's your dark horse candidate. He's barely in the race right now. He is going to massacre quarterbacks the back half of the year. He might finish with 22 sacks and get himself a little bit of hardware.
I'm saying. How many sacks do you have right now?
No idea. I think 5. But Trevon Diggs probably should be the favorite right now. I think Bosa's just going to heat up and take it from him, though. Final conversation. The Rookie of the Year. It's pretty clearly
offensive or defensive Rookie of the Year.
Let's be frank, no one cares about the defensive Rookie of the Year, and it's probably going to go to our friend on the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, I think the offensive Rookie of the Year is really just as obvious at this point.
I know, we still gotta say it. The offensive Rookie of the Year is an award generally handed to the best quarterback, but every quarterback in this year's draft class has been terrible. Trevor Lawrence just had his first good game. If he does that every single other game the rest of the year, puts up similar numbers, he might get it, but right now it's clearly Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase?
Jamar. I do not concern myself with such minor things as a pronunciation of a Bengals receiver's name.
I mean,
Joe Burrow's college roommate. How about that?
Jamar Chase is having an absurd rookie campaign. He's on pace for 1,500 receiving yards, 14 receiving touchdowns. He's elevated that Bengals offense to a level that I didn't really expect to see it at. I thought they didn't really need another receiver. I thought they were fine with T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I thought it would have benefited them more to draft an offensive tackle. And evidently, that's not really the case. Jamar Chase has elevated that Bengals team. They're winning games with him on the field. He's going to put up better numbers than Justin Jefferson did last year on the Vikings. So I think it's pretty clearly him. The only way I see a different player winning it is if Mac Jones is able to find a way to lead the Patriots to an unlikely playoff berth at this point, or if Najee Harris finds some way to lead the Steelers to a playoff berth, although I doubt it would go to running back just because of how insane Jamar Chase's stats look are on pace for at this point. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious.
I mean, offensive rookie of the year is a lot like the offensive player of the year. It can go to skill players, so saying a running back wouldn't get it's a bit absurd considering our pal Saquon Barkley won his rookie year.
No, but I'm saying I don't think he'll wind up getting it over Jamar Chase mainly.
Yeah, well, Jameer, Joe Burrow's roommate, whatever you want to call him, probably going to win the award.
And when it comes to the defensive rookie of the year, have you watched any Browns games, Isaiah?
I've watched a few. I had to watch them play the Vikings, which is not very fun.
But just watching Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah play, I think he would have definitely inserted himself into that conversation against Micah Parsons. He's all over the field, one of the best true rookie middle linebackers that I've seen
as opposed
in
to
a long
fake
time.
Rookie linebacker.
Because Micah Parsons is kind of like a hybrid middle end type thing.
Micah Parsons is an athlete, Tristan.
If you want to call it that, that's what they call it in high school recruiting. So anyway, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is on the IR, so he's not going to win the award. He's going to miss at least 3 games. It's Micah Parsons is a shoo-in. I think it's obvious.
Asante Samuel might get if he starts doing amazing things to the Chargers, but other than that, yeah. Not exactly a very fun and in-depth
got
analysis.
hurt, right?
Pardon?
Surtain got hurt.
I think Surtain's down. And I just assume Broncos players are hurt when you mention their names.
That's true. That has been the podcast. A shorter one this week. If somehow you don't follow us on TikTok, follow us there. If you want to listen to our amazing voices and amazing conversations, check us out on Spotify or other platforms. You can find us over there. Like the video, subscribe. We're on our slow crawl to 1,000 subscribers. Finally cracked 100, and we'll see you in the next podcast.